Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava, page 63a, it's the top of the page. With the words Deha, Kol, Chad, Klal, Prat, Klal, Prat. This line of reasoning is correct because we expound each one of the listed items in the generalization and detail, and generalization by itself. Each item is treated individually as representing a category, but the different items are not grouped together into one broad category. Since several animals are listed, it is concluded that if the stolen item is an animal, it must resemble the listed animals. But since birds do not transmit impurity through contact or carrying, they are not subject to double payment. The Gemara rejects this. If so, let the merciful one write just one detail, that is, an animal, and that would have been enough to teach that animals are subject to double payment only if they transmit impurity through contact and carrying, so birds are excluded. Since the Torah listed several animals, birds are included. The Gemara questions this assertion. Which individual animal should the merciful one have written? If the merciful one had written only ox, I would say that only an animal that is similar to an ox in that it is sacrificed on the altar. Yes, it is subject to double payment. But an animal that is not sacrificed on the altar, no, it is not subject to double payment. And if the merciful one had written only donkey, I would say that only an animal that is similar to a donkey in that its firstborn male offspring is sacred with the sanctity of a firstborn, yes, it is subject to double payment. But an animal that is not sacred with the sanctity of a firstborn, no, it is not subject to double payment. The principle of double payment would then include cattle, sheep, goats, and donkeys, but not other animals. See Exodus 13:13 and Deuteronomy 15:19. The Gemara responds, say, in answer to this question, if so, if the Torah had wished to limit double payment to cases where the cattle, sheep, goats, or donkeys were stolen, let the merciful one write just ox and donkey. Why do I need the verse to mention sheep? Conclude from it that the Torah intends to include even animals that do not meet these criteria, for example, birds. The Gemara asks further, but say that the verse mentions sheep in order to include only kosher birds, which are similar to the sheep listed in the verse, in that a carcass of these birds renders both the one who eats it and his garments ritually impure when it passes through his esophagus, as the carcass of a sheep also transmits ritual impurity. But non-kosher birds, whose carcasses do not have ritual impurity at all, as they do not render either the one who eats them or his garments impure when they pass through his esophagus, no. They are not subject to double payment. The Gemara answers the word any, kol, in the phrase for any matter of trespass is an amplification and serves to include even non-kosher birds in the principle of double payment. The Gemara asks, but is it so that anywhere that the Torah wrote the word kol, it is an amplification, but isn't it so that with regard to second tithe, the word kol is written in the verse, and you shall bestow the money for whatever the kol, whatever your soul desires, for oxen or for sheep or for wine or for strong drink or for whatever your soul asks of you. B'chol asher taveh nafshecha. Deuteronomy 14:26, and yet we expound that verse as a generalization and a detail and a generalization. as it is taught in a Braita, and you shall bestow the money for whatever your soul desires, is a generalization, as no particular type of food is specified. For oxen or for sheep, or for wine or for strong drink is a detail, as specific types of food are mentioned. When the verse concludes with, or for whatever your soul asks for, it has generalized again, since the verse is formulated as a generalization and a detail and a generalization. You may deduce that the verse is referring only to the items similar to the detail. This indicates that just as each of the items mentioned in the detail is clearly defined as the produce of produce, that is, they grow from a parent organism, example, agricultural produce or animals, and they are grown from the ground. Their sustenance comes from the ground, so too the category of items one may purchase with second tithe money includes all items that are produce of produce and are grown from the ground. The Gemara responds, say in answer to this question that the term bechol is a generalization, whereas the term kol is an amplification. And if you wish, say an alternate answer. The word kol is usually a generalization, but the word kol that is written here is in the verse concerning double payment, Exodus 22:8, is an exception. It is regarded as an amplification, as the Gemara will explain. After all, there is another generalization and a detail and a generalization written at the beginning of this passage, as it is written, if a man gives his neighbor money or vessels to safeguard, and it was stolen from the house of the man, if the thief shall be found, he shall pay double. Exodus 22:6. If a man gives his neighbor is a generalization. Money or vessels is a detail. When the verse concludes to safeguard, it has generalized again. And if it enters your mind to say that this latter verse, for any matter of trespass, Exodus 22:8, is also coming to state a generalization and a detail and a generalization, let the merciful one write these details. That is, ox, donkey, sheep, and garment, which are cited in the latter verse, together with that previous generalization and detail and generalization. Why do I need the latter verse beginning with, for any manner of trespass? Conclude from it that the word kol is an amplification in this instance, and it includes all animals. The Gemara asks, now that you said that the word kol is an amplification, why do I need all these details listed in the verse? That is, ox, donkey, sheep, and garment. The Gemara answers, as for the three animals listed, one is mentioned to exclude land, one to exclude Canaanite slaves, and one to exclude financial documents. The example of a garment is mentioned to exclude any item that is not clearly delineated in size or quantity, or for any manner of lost thing is written to teach that which Rabbi Chia bar Abba says, as Rabbi Chia bar Abba says, that Rabbi Yochanan says with regard to one who falsely states the claim that a thief stole. Just to finish the thought, we'll continue on to 63. For a minute, there's time. Yeah, there's plenty of time. The thief that stole a lost item that he had found, which he had been obligated to safeguard until it should be returned to its owner, he pays double payment, as it is stated, for any manner, etc. We'll continue on 63b.